Hello everybody, Corey at Gemini Guitar, and we're back for Metal episode 17. And today we're looking at melodic Phrygian beauty. So this is based on the B Phrygian scale. First part of it focuses on trilling, just between two fingers. And the second half gets a little bit shreddy, although it's a repetitive idea, so once you get it down, you're not going to have too many issues with it. It also uses a pull-off at a particular strategic point to make it just a little bit easier, so you're not picking the whole thing all the time. And then finally at the end, then we get really melodic, and it sounds pretty cool. So we're going to start out with the trills. We're starting out with the root note and the minor second, and what we're going to do with this is do it in a 16th triplet rhythm. So this can be a bit daunting when you first do it, so what I'd recommend is probably to obviously slow it down a bit. But I also make it clear in the transcription that you'll want to re-pick the note at the halfway mark in the bar. So you'll do 4 triplets, and then you'll re-pick because you're going to repeat that whole sequence again. Otherwise, sometimes you can get a bit lost with it. The other thing you can do is pick every triplet. At least the first note of each triplet, and that will help you to stay on track. But ultimately, slow it down. Make sure you do it with a metronome so you can pace yourself out. And I'd encourage you also to use the setting in the metronome where you can set it to the pulse of the 16th note triplet so you can hear where every note's supposed to go. And then all we're going to do is just move that type of idea around. So we go into the third position. That's another idea. You could pick every second triplet or do 2 groups of triplets, pick the first one, and then do that. So I'll leave it up to you. You can experiment with that a bit. And then we're going from the open to the second fret. Back to second and third. I'm going to end off a bit differently though at the end. So we're going to pick 2, hammer to 3, go to the 4th string, pick 2, hammer to 4, and pull back to 2, and then pick the 3rd fret. So we get, oops. Basically do the same thing again, except instead of the 4th fret on 4th string, it's the 5th fret. What we're going to do then is move the idea into its 5th. So whereas before we played the root, this time we're going to think in terms of a power chord harmony. So if you had another guitar player with you, you could, the other guy or you could play the first bit, and then either one of you could harmonize that with the next part. And it's in 5ths. So we're going to have 4th and 5th on the 4th string. And then 5th and 7th. Open to 2nd on the 4th. Then 2nd to 4th. And 4th to 5th. Similar to the previous ending, but this time on a different set of strings. And we're actually going to cut that a little bit short there. Okay, so the next part's the hardest part to do. One thing it's got going for it though, and this is something that I've placed in there strategically because I find it's quite helpful, there's a pull-off just about a little bit, well, basically in the middle. But you'll see what I mean in a tick. So when we do this at a slower tempo, check it out. So it's mostly picked. But just at that point, we're going to do a pull off, and that essentially just takes the load off a bit. And it gives you a little bit of time to regroup so you can get back onto the next string and just pick all the notes on that string. And essentially what you're going to do here is the same pattern, it's only that every second time instead of the 4th fret, it'll be the 5th fret on string 4. You'll do that for another bar, and at the end of that then we've got the melodic part. Let's take a look at the idea at a little bit of a faster tempo, just so you can see how that works. And it's an excellent exercise for developing some shred ability. It's always nice to be able to play a couple of fast ideas. I mean, back in the day, I used to do a lot more of that stuff. These days, not so much because I don't care about that style as much, but these are the types of ideas that I can still pull out and pull off, so to speak. And they're fun to do. And that pull-off technique there will actually help you a lot to be able to play that more fluidly as opposed to picking the whole thing. The other thing you can do is, if you want, is you can palm mute it, which gets a bit more of an aggressive sound like this. I think I did that just towards the end of this part. So it sounds a bit like this. Kind of reminds me of a Megadeth riff or something. And what I'm also doing there is I'm not palm muting the pulled off note. Sorry, the note that we're pulling off from. So it's. And that just gives it a little bit of an accent, which is nice. Okay, so the final part is actually kind of my favorite part because it sounds kind of dramatic and dark and all the good stuff that we like in metal. So at the end of that sequence that we were just doing, we're going to throw in this part. So we're going to go to the root note B in the higher octave, slide over to 5 and then go back for the root to pick. And just let that ring out for a bit. And then we're going to move up to the 9th fret on the 3rd string and bend that 3 times. Release it and re-pick. 7th on the 2nd, and then half step bend on the same string, same fret. You can do some vibrato there, it's not 100% necessary. One thing I like to encourage students to do is just to hold it without doing any vibrato for a bit, just to give it a little bit more drama, and then start the vibrating from that point. So it's like. So just a little bit of a dynamic touch that really helps with generating variation in sound. And then we're back over to the 3rd string, fret 9. Well, we've been there the whole time anyway, but. And we're just going to alternate, sort of like a kind of a pedal point, not really though. If we did this, it would be. Which makes a pretty good exercise too. And then finishing off with that minor second interval from the F sharp note. And that ends the piece. Okay, so that wraps things up for today. Thank you very much for supporting me on Patreon. It's greatly appreciated. And I look forward to seeing you at the next lesson. Until then, bye for now.